Okay. So. Okay. Where's the... Here's the... Okay. So. Hi, Napster. Okay. So. Here's the situation. There's a new route people are running, and there needs to be a category split, and we need to figure out how the leaderboards are going to be organized now. So, we have options. And then the moderation team needs to somehow, like, look at these options and look at, like, what people want. And use these to, I guess, I don't like. To make a decision. Okay. And this is how speedrun moderation works. Okay. So. Our options are... So the current way the leaderboard is that we have any percent. And it has routes. Normal, LDP, and HFO. Yeah. Let's put this in a box, I guess. Yeah. Okay. And then I've seen two other proposals. And there's some variations on each. And also there's, like, you know, NMS and Hundo over here. Maybe the one I like the most, personally, is any percent, no LDP. This is current. I'm gonna, like, there are options you can click on, right? So, and then NMS and Tonto. If you add it to the mod queue now, you can submit runs if you want. We can reorganize them and stuff later. This isn't mouse writing. I have a tablet. Okay. And then the third option, and this was potatoes, I think, was any percent, and then there'd just be a route column, a filter, and it'd be like, you know, LDP, LDP, no LDP. I heard that you got, what was the time specifically? I just heard, I saw sub 5, 456, nice. Okay. So then, there's a few sort of sub things we can do. First of all, like, there's options for what we do with HFO. What is this about? Okay, there's a new any percent route. Sapling is a 456. And we need to category split. But as always with speedrunning, people have lots of different strong opinions on what the leaderboard should look like. So I'm trying to orient myself right now, basically. Okay. So there's options for HFO. And the names can be changed. HFO could be like mist. You can swap these, and then once again names. This option mostly is just gonna be like, I guess you can ask what to do with HFL. But yeah. And then also, this one still sort of has the HFO problem, because, I mean, you can just have no LD, like HFO continue being a subcategory of no LDP. There were a lot of that's fair, kinda. But so I'm emotionally attached to, let's make it a separate April's opinions thing. April takes. And these are sort of separate from, like, unbiased, just figuring out how to moderate well. But one of my takes is any percent is any percent. That's a take I have. And I think the word any percent refers to the shortest run, and so any percent allows LDP. Which means, given that I feel relatively strongly about what the word any percent means, the old route has to be called no LDP or something. Like, to me, it seems just like using the language incorrectly to call no LDP any percent. And the ace thing, there's a few different ways to justify ace not being allowed. But broadly, like, it uses external data from the internet, or maybe you could host it on your PC or whatever. And it's like this elaborate, like, you need to set up the payload. And to some extent, that's a rationalization. And ultimately, like, we're just trying to find an excuse to not call ace any percent. But there's arguments there. With LDP, it's like, that's a serious category. It's a little bit of a meme category, but it's like a reasonable thing to do attempts of, unlike ace any percent. So it's sort of like a serious category people are running that it's difficult to argue is cheating in some way. And it's the fastest route for beating the game. So, to me, that's what any percent the word means. Now, the counter argument is that, like, any percent as a term has a sort of status in speedrunning. People see any percent as important. And so renaming a category away from any percent in some ways diminishes how significant it seems to people who aren't familiar with the community. And even within the community, it sort of implies a bit of a devaluing. And I'm okay with that, because, like, I think it's, to the extent that the value of the old any percent category came from it being any percent, it's not anymore. And I'm fine with that. But I can understand why people would object. So this is my stance, but I'm trying to avoid... I'm trying to, like, understand what other people think, and, like, there are points in both directions. Okay. Yeah, like this... Like, you can put no LDP first. But then it's like, oh, there's a no LDP. and then the faster and there's currently a nice thing where there's a progression from the shorter runs to the longer runs, and I like that. So it bothers me a little to put no LDP first. However, okay, let's add another April take. Categories listed shortest to longest. This is I like this, but I'm willing to admit it's maybe not as important. Yeah, so yeah, that is an argument for subcategories. It's also an argument for the sure. So, okay, another April take. Route column dumb. I see why someone would want it, but I think, and I don't like potato. I don't think there's anything wrong with potato for wanting it, because like I can see the appeal, but it feels like it would be like. Like, no. I I don't want the what even is the no LDP world record right now? I should know this. I'm a fake Mario 63. Okay, 611. The 611 should be listed as a world record in some category. Because currently it's, if you do the route column, then it would be second place in any percent right now, is what it would look like with the route column. And that, I'm not okay with that. Because they're different categories to me. Okay. I'm going to say this account of what options we have is good. So, okay. Now let's list the things people want. Okay. Okay. You might want old any percent to be prioritized, significant, to be recognized. You might want new any percent to be, yeah, highlighted. Highlighted is a good word. And all of it's going to be like possible to break these down into the reasons. Like mostly the reason I want new any percent to be highlighted is because it's any percent. Old any percent, I think is important to highlight because it's I mean, I don't think, yeah, more fun, maybe, higher skill cap. Okay. Here's another April take. No LDP doesn't have a larger claim to be continuing the history of the category. To me, I've been around longer than anyone else here. I've seen any percent go through a lot of changes. And to me, this is in some ways like it's actually getting split when it hasn't before, which is notable. But or it's not determined that it's going to be split. Like this option isn't off the table entirely, but I don't think it's likely that we'll end up going with it. So like the way I feel is that no LDP is a like they both have the same history. Until recently. And then it sort of branches. Is how I think about it. And the reason I list this as an April take is that I think my perspective as someone who has like I've sort of seen more fundamental changes to any percent than other people have. So the category changing is something I'm used to and excited about. Whereas a lot of runners mostly like weren't around for Flood and Space and Escape. And so their experience with the category is like grinding it down from 7 minutes to the low 6s. And all of that work, like the optimizing the fuck out of Bowser 3 and space and everything. The switching to tutorial 2 instead of doing T2 skip. Like the Bowser pause thing. There's a bunch of stuff that, like, you all have put a whole lot of work into that sort of, you're grinding down this, like, relatively specific thing and optimizing the movement. And all of that work is in some sense much more clearly connected to no LDP. Yeah, you can say it's sapling. I'm always okay with people trying to, yeah. Whereas to me, the long history is sort of significant, to how I feel about things. I don't want to say no LDP has a massive history. I want to... Any percent has a massive history. It is how I think about it. But I can see why, like, they're different categories, but, like, so, in a sense, I'm a philosopher, more than an engineer in a lot of ways. So that's why I have all these thoughts. Well, like, sapling... Like, the history branches. And there's sort of, like... There's years of work put into causing the branch to happen. But sort of the progression of the strats used is, like, all of... So the overlap thing. Like, in a sense, 100% run is an any percent run. It's really bad compared to any percent runs. So, like, no one... But, like, it does fulfill the rules of the category. So, like, all of the no LDP runs are also, like, the runs that are in the looser category. Or in the stricter category, rather, are also runs of the looser category. So, like, the way I think of the world record progression of any percent is that it includes all of the runs in the past, and then Sapling's recent runs. No, there's not a circle titled LDP. I mean, like, yeah, like in some sense, this outside is like the runs that use LDP. But the way I think of it isn't that like there's a category where there's a rule that you have to use LDP. There's a category where LDP is allowed, and thus yeah. But so the thing is, like, while this sort of model kind of makes conceptual sense, you end up with an issue where, like, no one actually wants to compare these two runs to each other. So it's sort of tempting to think of them as just distinct. However, like, there are contexts in which I feel like it makes sense to do these sort of comparisons between very different runs. And thinking about the history of the category is one of those cases. So when I'm trying to compare runs, I'm probably mostly going to be like using a model where it's like, yeah, you got LDP and no LDP. But when I think about the history, it's more of a branching thing. Because, like, all of these historical runs are doing the fastest any percent strats. Whereas these are like choosing with this, like, you didn't have the option to do LDP, so it's sort of like this all just feels like any percent, and these both feel like and they feel like, I don't know. That's something like that is how I feel about it. But there are different ways to look at it, I think. Okay. I'm gonna put history as an item, I guess. Okay. What are the other things people want? Like, there's probably going to be a poll, but I don't know. I'm I have opinions about poll design and stuff like that. Because I'm a huge nerd. So yeah, okay. So I mean, sort of like the reason I'm thinking about all of this right now is because I want to figure out what's up, such that I can like form an opinion on what a good decision-making process would even be. Because like I don't know. I want to have like a very clear idea of what the pros and cons of all of the options are, and I want it to be informed not just by like my own opinions, but also by like everything anyone in the community cares about. Okay. Like, elegant leaderboard layout. Yeah, so sort of like what I'm almost ultimately imagining is like a thing you can fill out, which like shows what your opinions are on all the different things, I guess. Like, I'd like to collect data that's like stuff like how many people agree with this point, for example, or how many people care about this this one, because I could believe that this is like a mostly just a me thing, and if so, then we can put no LDP first. And it's not just a shortest longest thing, but it's also like any percent being second feels weird to me, I guess. But it's mostly a short like I don't know, less restricted to more restricted, but like 100% isn't strictly speaking more restricted than NMS, but like I don't know. Okay. There's a bunch of sort of meme things you could want, like 2012 main category or whatever, but I'm not gonna. Actually, okay. Actually, there was another proposal, and that proposal was any percent version 2010. This was a proposal. this proposal is really funny, but yeah. Okay. Okay. I actually, here's another thing you might care about. You might want new any percent to not be highlighted. I don't know how much this is GamerMate's actual opinion or not, but like, I don't like this take. However, like I can see it, right? Because like it is kinda a dumb category. And I like dumb categories. I think people are too hard on dumb categories. But it is dumb. And it's not ridiculous, I think, to dislike the idea of listing it alongside no LDP, NMS, and 100%. Like, I can see why you'd want that. Well, it's not just about the bugginess, but it's about, like... I mean, what GamerMate was saying was, like, a large portion of the category is menuing. And like... Yeah, so, I mean, dumb is arbitrary. Like, I don't... All of this is kind of arbitrary. Like... There's no objective reason that someone should care more about any percent being any percent than about the fact that new any percent is dumb. So I disagree with this, but equal I don't know about. I don't... Efforts... I think that's sort of like... Maybe I should also be listing, like, motivations that go into these. So, like... Is there a lassos? I don't think... Oh god. This is one of the issues with Excalidraw. There we go. As far as I know, it doesn't have a lasso tool. Yeah, so a lot of work went into this. Like, recognition of effort optimizing old route. History and elegant leaderboard layout sort of go hand in hand to me. Because like, they feel similar. Because like, one of the big arguments against this one is that it like splits the history of the category really oddly. Yeah, sure. Recognize I'm still mad about how sidelined. I'm not mad, but I'm still like ironically salty about how Undertale multi-client got sidelined so hard. Because I found the single biggest time save in Undertale other than Punch Card. And no one runs the category. I never ran Undertale very well, but I have it all. I know I'm like, I have basic competency with the Punch Card. And like, I've been following the community for a while. So like I sort of I don't get excited like this about Undertale skips. But I did like hear about it and pay attention when like for a bit when like the stupid dumb like tutorial wrong warp thing. Is it a wrong warp? In Ruins was found recently. But yeah, 63 is my thing. There was a time when Minecraft was a bit of my thing, but it got very, very big, and just too much was happening. But like there was a time when I was like invested in the 1.16 RSG route being developed. But then it was developed. Yeah. Minecraft was nuts. And I was the head mod, and I was in high school, and I didn't know what I was doing, and like we didn't have the time to slowly adjust things as speedrunning got bigger, the way that maybe other big speed games did. Because it just exploded all at once. So I have regrets about the state of Minecraft speedrunning, because I mean, I was in literally a uniquely important position for the Minecraft speedrunning community, and I don't think I did the best job I could have. I think that is why I'm like sitting down and trying to think about this so clearly, because like the thing where like everyone starts getting into massive arguments whenever a new thing is found in a speedrun is dumb, and I want to find a better way to approach things. And I think like looking at this, sitting down, figuring out like non-judgmentally what all the different opinions and options are is I think this is a better approach maybe than like sitting in a Discord channel and arguing a bunch. Because ultimately, like, as a moderator, my role is not to enforce all of my takes. My role is to help the community settle on the best compromise. But yeah, ultimately, like, Minecraft, I could have done better, but I would, you know, I did what I could, and I don't think I did anything egregious. It was just sort of a hard situation. But I feel like I could have done better nowadays. And I don't know. I have like a point to prove to myself that I like can help resolve a speedrun controversy in a good way or something. Okay. I feel like there's got to be more to say. Right? About like what priorities we can have? It's true. We're only three. Okay. God, we're all. I mean, I know I'm old, but you two? Well, Dignity's been around a while. Right? I still think of Napster as relatively new. But yeah, I mean, if you're, who are the newest people even? I haven't been paying close enough attention to know, like, who's been around for a year and who's been around for a month. Because you retired from... Yeah. Okay. I want to... Nameless chance glitch. Falcon. Who's Falcon? Do they have... Let me look at the any percent leaderboards. Oh, yeah, that's a... 639 is pretty good. How long has Chansu been... Is Chansu how you pronounce it? Been running the game? Man, I'm 19th. How are there 20 sub-7s? That's crazy. Why have things been popping off? So what happened? Like what? Like this many new runners getting 6-minute times is like I would not have imagined that this would end up happening. Like, why? What caused it? The tourney is 12. 12 is not big. Okay. I'm posting... No, I copy as PNG. Okay, I'm trying to list what things people might want the new leaderboard layout to. How do I phrase this? To list what people might want regarding the new leaderboard layout. Am I missing anything big? Yeah. Ultimately a form of some sort is what we're going to be looking for. Sure, I guess. I don't... Epilepsy. I I don't know if this is actually a good reason to not highlight the category, but sure. Okay. So one thing I want to do is sort of yeah, you can make a form. I'd like to give input on how to design it, because I need to spend a few minutes at least thinking about what the best way to do it is. But oh yeah, making a mod. That's interesting. But yeah, I want to think about what the best way to design the form is for a bit. Okay. Yeah. So the things I have to think about are like given our understanding of like what sorts of opinions are out there, how do we figure out in a sort of easily understandable way what the like actual distribution of these opinions among runners is? And then once we know that, how do we go from that to actually making a decision? And maybe at the end of the day, the thing to do is just hold a poll. But I don't know. I guess like when I see speedrunning communities just like hold a poll, I feel like people are often left unsatisfied, and like I look at the results and I see like 55% for one side, and I'm like, you know, what population voted on this poll? Maybe I want to like weight top runners' opinions more strongly or something. And like it's ridiculous to say that there's like some sort of objective answer to whose opinion matters most. But like I think it's true that my opinion or Sapling's opinion or Gamermate's opinion or Verdict's opinion or like Froggy Fro's opinion in some ways matter more than like some random, like, I don't know, my girlfriend's opinion, who has a like 10 something, I think. So it's I'm sort of unsatisfied with polls. But the thing is, like, at the end of the day, probably not everyone is going to be perfectly happy. So it's difficult. I'd like to find something that doesn't leave people like worried that the process was decided by something like unfair. And in some ways it's difficult for like the statistics in a poll, if it's not super one-sided, it gets okay. So let's analyze some of these. Okay. I'd say I'd want to name this no LDP. Just because like normal has never super satisfied me as a name. And no LDP is a much more, because like the reason we have like normal is like I don't know. I don't want people to go around calling the category any percent hover or any percent with rocket and turbo or something like that's no. And then in no major skips and 100%, it's like, oh, currently LDP is to the, actually the current state of the boards has LDP over here. I don't like that. I don't think HFO should be listed before LDP, if they're even going to be listed next to each other at all. But yeah, like in NMS and 100%, you have to have normal contrast with no major coaches and hover only. And like, I don't know. Like, you can't just leave it blank, but it's for any percent I'd want to do no LDP. Any percent all floods. Okay. Current. Kinda. I'm gonna do this. No LDP. Unrestricted. I like unrestricted, but my worry is I kind of like unrestricted. It's a little big and clunky, but that's maybe not too big a deal. But my worry is like we call it 100% unrestricted, and then someone routes LDP 100% and is like, the category is called 100% unrestricted. Let me submit it. Okay, let me look at this form. Okay. So this isn't what I want for the forum. This is like this is asking what to do, and I don't feel ready to try to make a decision quite yet. I'm still like sort of orienting myself to what priorities people have. And like yeah, I mean yeah. What I want to do for now is gauge motivations. Sort of. Maybe that's sort of taking things too slowly. I don't know. And it was like the fact that things like this have been suggested. Like, I don't think this is actually good, but it like the existence of this idea sort of suggests to me that there are weird options out there that might not like maybe there's some like really clever thing that ends up actually being good, and it would sort of be helpful to know what it is we're looking for. If I had like a good idea of what people want. Okay. I'm gonna list out pros and cons. Okay. This is yeah, I mean, I do think there should be a form. But it's like the sorts of questions I want to be on the form are more like it's like, how important is it to you that we maintain the thing where the categories are sorted by length? It is sort of the kind of question I want to ask people, I guess. Because to like if I look at people voting on the decision itself, it's sort of doesn't feel like it communicates as clearly what people want than if you phrase it as like, what do you think of this reason to do it this way? If I see that if the form results say straightforwardly that a lot of people care about any percent being any percent, then that sort of or let me put it another way. If I saw on the form that like any percent being any percent was just a me thing, and basically no one else cared about that, then I would be disappointed, but I would be entirely convinced that the correct thing for the community to do would be to just like keep any percent named the way it is mostly. But if I just see the results of a vote about what decision to make, then I'm sort of left not understanding why that's what the community thinks is best. So it's less satisfying to me. I'm going to be more inclined to be frustrated than to admit that, like, okay, I my priorities are different from everyone else's, and that's fine. So that's sort of what the appeal of a strategy that's more asking what people's priorities are than just asking what decision to make. Yeah, I think maybe I'd like to try making the form. I think a lot of people like this suggestion, though there'd still have to be a discussion about what to name each category. Okay. I guess maybe I should just go ahead and make the form. A draft form. Okay. And then probably, like, maybe if there's like a clear best option given the form results, we can just do that. But otherwise, we can like look at what people's opinions are and use that to inform how we design an ultimate poll that would just decide things, or something like that. SM63 LDP opinion feedback. Yeah, I'm gonna studio mode Add window capture. Crop like that. Yeah. Okay. So the average age of the community, like 16. Okay. Yeah, no, I mean, you seem competent to me, Dignity. I think you're a decent mob. It's also like, wow, I'm one of the oldest people here now? What? Like, when I started running, like, Sekanor and Froggy were some of the more prominent runners I was looking at. Froggy didn't even always have top times, but he did a lot of routing and stuff. And like glitch documentation. And like they're older than me. But no, I'm older. It's a... Zunar's married? I guess that's not... That kind of makes sense. That's not... How good are Zunar's times? Because I remember him kinda, but I don't remember. He hasn't been around in a while, I think. 33 NMS? Okay. $8.28, but that's in 2017. What? What's the boards look like in 2017? Okay, so it still wasn't all that good. Wait. 710? Right. Okay. So that's low sevens. That's low sevens, and yet you still see things like the Meeper Ninja with barely sub 10 in 14th. Man, this community's grown. Okay. You joined when you were 12? Yeah. I was also 12. Was I 11? I think I was probably 12. No. I think I was 11. It's been a decade? I mean, that was a really long time ago. But Wow. Okay. Let's see. Do you want any percent with LDP to be recognized as a... Who decided to mod you? I don't know. I would... I don't like just judging everything based on age because it's wrong, but I also like would hesitate nowadays to mod a 14-year-old. Okay. As a main category alongside old and percent, NMS, and 100%. And I'm gonna make these all linear scales from 1 to 5. No, yes. Macreus was mod? Do you think that the word any percent has a specific meaning such that I guess maybe how I want to phrase this is like, do you care about any percent being used to refer to the least, the category where you beat the game without any restrictions? Is this too specific? Well, I'm repeat the game as fast as possible, parentheses, without any restrictions, maybe. I could believe that this is too specific, But I haven't... I don't... This is like the only reasoning I've seen for calling LDP any percent. Is do you care a weird question? Sure. Maybe do you think any percent should be used or something like that? How closely do you associate feels like weirdly wordy to me. Maybe I want like means beating the game as fast as possible without any restrictions. Sure. Strictly. I like this phrasing. Okay. What other... So, like, it's a yes-no question, but I like, I feel relatively strongly about this. And I can imagine someone who, like, is like, yeah, that's kind of a good point, but it's not very important to them. And I want more nuance than just giving a yes or no option would... Yeah. Okay. Like... This is... Okay. This question is going to be sort of directly targeted at the potato filter route suggestion. do you think runs with and without LDP should be listed on the same board? I'm expecting consensus for no on this, for the most part. Oh, sure. Do you think that pasting level codes should be legalized? Should be legal in 10% with LDP? Do you think the leaderboard should highlight no LDP? I want to call it like old any percent, because that's I feel like any percent with LDP and old any percent are sort of impartial temporary names, because it's sort of like those are sort of clearly to me not what we're going to actually end up going with, but they're also unambiguous, and I feel like they don't. Well, I feel like any percent normal. I don't like any percent normal as a name. If someone finds old any percent to be an unsatisfying name, then I'll think about it more. But I don't know, I think it's at the very least an improvement over no LDP, in terms of referring to the category explicitly, unambiguously, without taking a stance on like what to ultimately call it. Above 20% with LDP. Yeah, so sort of like I can imagine a few different ways this poll could turn out. And if I see, like, most people are saying no here, most people are saying yes here, then I'm happy with how things currently are. But if I see a lot of people saying yes here, then, like, and then, like, sort of, even if people are saying yes to this one, like, my personal opinion is that the subcategory solution hides LDP too much. I feel that true any percent should be one of the categories that is sort of displayed at a top level, at the, like, one of the options. And then rather than, like, a variant on a different category. So I'm sort of attached to the 4 main categories solution. And my feeling is kind of that the remaining questions are, what do we name them? And how do we order them? But I'm open to, like I said, if we see, that is my opinion. And if we see a lot of people saying no, they don't want any resentment with LDP to be recognized as a main category, and that yes, they think older 90% should be highlighted, then I'm like, well, okay. Given that, the way Leaderboard is arranged now temporarily is fine. But if it's more mixed, I don't know. But so the thing is, like, I'm not really okay with either of LDP or no LDP being listed as a variant category that you have to, like, click on the route thing to see. What I want is like, are you okay with old any percent being a secondary subcategory? Is secondary subcategory because like my specific complaint is that I like the subcategory which is selected when you click on the top level category feels like the canonical version of that main category to me. And I'm personally not okay with the amount of like yeah, okay. What I want is, do you think that any percent no LDP, or no, sorry, that old any percent should be the first board shown when you go to speedrunner.com/SM63? Is there like an option? Because like, or is it always like the leftmost? It's probably always the leftmost. Wait, no? What on earth is an annotation? Oh. They renamed filters? Or not, variables is what they used to be called, I think. Okay. Okay, yeah, so the default is just ordered by what's leftmost. Okay. Um, maybe like what I want to know is like if we I'm sort of I don't think anyone cares that much about HFO. So I'm not too worried about it, but we can throw a question on maybe. This one is also like people are gonna say yes about this. It's like do you think that old any percent being listed as the second subcategory of an overall any percent of any percent would devalue would hide it too much? I think that's a reasonable way to put it. Well, it's kind of the same point. Actually, no, so someone could like yeah, there's some overlap, but I think both are worth asking. 9% with LDP. Can I add like a description? Yeah. Second and third subcategories of main of in the past have been things like no major glitches or hover only, which are generally seen as much less significant variance than the first subcategory. Do you think that this is a big issue? For listing, for splitting 20% into subcategories? think I want to, do you think it's important that... Yeah, so I think this mainly decides the name thing. Yeah, so renaming any person. The question is, do you think any person restricted means being the game special also without any restrictions? I think this is the main factor about naming, is what people feel about this. Because if people don't think this, then yeah. Does anyone actually want it to be normal and no LDP? Or normal and LDP? That seems... I mean, I see why... Okay, I want to add another question here, which is like... Do you want to keep calling old any percent? Any percent? Or any percent normal? Something similar. Rather than no DP or any percent no LDP. I don't... The any percent word being twice in a row here feels bad. So let's do that. And I could split this question into like there's sort of two different motivations you could have for wanting this. You could like dislike the name change, or you could have the any percent as a name being prestigious. Thing. But the latter is the previous. You'd think these would be very highly correlated questions, but I can kind of imagine someone being like, well, no, I don't think any percent means that, but also I don't care about calling old any percent any percent. Maybe these are redundant. Well, no. What was I thinking? Why did I add this? I added this because... Like, I don't know, the normal... I think we don't need this. Yeah, like... I do sort of see the contention with no LDP. But I sort of feel like people will get used to it as a category name if we implement it. Was there an argument about IGT? I didn't realize that was controversial. It was very... Huh. A similar ask as NMS? Well, the thing is, like... It's sort of more okay to me for NMS to be an abbreviation sort of thing. Because, first of all, NMS is a term that some other games use. Although maybe NMG is more common, but no LDP. LDP is unique to this game, and also it's like old any percent is sort of I feel like the name of a category says something about how important it is. And I think no LDP sounds like a side category in some ways. Here's what I want this to be. I like would it bother you to call old any percent something like no LDP? I mean, like, or do you think this would... Do you think no LDP, probably like you personally, do you think no LDP would it be too opaque, too unclear a name to new runners or casual viewers? More of these should maybe have descriptions. Temporarily 90% with LDP is listed as a subcategory of any percent. Would you prefer it be listed as a separate main category? Do you overall think it's important for the old 90% category to be recognized as primary? I don't think the descriptions are necessarily adding anything, but I think restating it can maybe make it more clear what we're asking if it's confused. I don't know. Some people have a particular idea about what word any percent means. Means and think it. Yeah, sure, any percent. Incorrect to simply refer to the old any percent category as any percent. Do you agree with this? No LDP. How did I do on my exam? I had first I had an abstract algebra test. And I aced it, which isn't surprising. I did very well on the previous tests in that class. And then I had computer systems, which I was really worried about last night and this morning. Because I've kind of been doing badly in that class. But I think it went well. I might end up getting like a C in the class, but I'm happy with my performance on the test, and yeah. I'm pretty confident I'm not gonna fail the class. So I'm happy about it. LDP. The vibes of the name No LDP are maybe not ideal. What do I put here? I don't know if any percent as a name. I think it's clear, but like, now I'd sort of like to put a little discussion about why it would bother someone. Conveys certain thing, like, that a category can convey. Can. It's important. Or distinguished. While no LDP in some ways feels like a of a side category. The name we definitely get more used to no as a name over time, but it's over time, but I don't want this to be a counter argument. to keep in mind that the name may start to feel more familiar over time. Try to think about how you'll feel about the name once you get more used to it. Is this biased? Like, I do want... I think I want people to think about that. But it also... It sort of is me adding an argument for my position, which I don't think I should be doing. But I don't know how to point this out without it becoming an argument. Maybe here's what I want to do. Well, part of the issue is that no LDP is a name we are less used to. Also maybe this is better. Because it still makes the point, but it like frames the it frames the concern as legitimate rather than... Let me put it in chat so you can read it. Leaderboard might find no LDP a less clear name than any percent might not understand. Well, that should be up to the participant, but like... I care about getting the opinions of people even if they're sort of going through the form quickly. I don't want... I think noise is bad. And it doesn't really matter to me if that's in some sense the participant's responsibility. Not understand. Vocabulary. Or someone might be confused. Be more confused looking at a marathon schedule or something. Do you think this is a big concern? Do you even think the category should be split? One option is to just list a annotation on each run stating what route it used. Or is it just add a column to the leaderboard indicating which route was used? Yeah, that's what I was looking at by each one. Do I need to point out that this would mean that the... I think it's obvious that the sort of reason you might not want this is that it means no LDP runs are being directly compared to LDP runs. Okay, this is a little too... Do you want to just directly compare? As we generally do for runs with or without two skip. I'm not going to use degradation. Tutorial to skip. There's technically been a rule for a long time where pasting in level codes into the designer is banned. It's 8. I should go soon. I don't know if I'm actually ready to send this out, but I'm gonna finish it up and then like post it in Mod Zone or something, and or I would like to ask people if there's anything they think needs to be added. Makes banned, but this makes maybe makes more sense with maybe a less fun category to run. Yeah, no worries, Napster. I'm going pretty soon too. Should be changed. Run. And saplings runs have been ignored. The first board shown is this would help. That is the importance of 11% to the community, but it would also mean that if we do the following categories solution, that the categories are no longer listed from shortest to longest. Designer preserve LDP is a new strategy found by largely developed by Sapling with the help of a few others, which saves over a minute on the old 20% route. This form aims to collect opinions so we can gauge what people think about the various approaches to reorganizing the leaderboards. Okay. I'm not gonna post this yet. But what does print do? Sure. Let's send people a PDF so they can't fill it out early. Here's a form I've been working on. Please feel free to give suggestions for additional questions to ask or clarifications. I'm gonna make a thread for this. Okay. I'm gonna go. See you guys.